Hello, and welcome to this Women's Fund's Grants in Action program. My name is Mickey Andina, and I am a member of the Women's Fund Research Committee, as well as a nurse anthropologist with a very special interest and experience in the critical role of community health workers in global health. Today, we will focus on the remarkable community health work of the Santa Barbara County Promotores, an independent network, predominantly female, affiliated with Children and Family Resources in partnership with the Santa Barbara County Education Office. During the next 45 minutes, you will learn more about the Promotores and their grassroots efforts to serve communities throughout the county. These dedicated community members provide healthcare education, they work to assure equitable access to healthcare services, and they strive to keep their communities healthy. In May 2021, the Promotores Network received a Women's Fund grant for $100,000 to train and certify 24 South County Promotores as health navigators. Some of you are probably wondering, what or who are the Promotores, and what exactly are health navigators? Well, to begin to answer some of these questions, we'll start with a short film. We'll start with a short film featuring the three dynamic founders of the Santa Barbara Promotores Network. Following the film, lead promotora Maribel Landeros will give a PowerPoint presentation about the USC Health Navigator training and its impact. I then have the honor of interviewing Dr. Vanda Reynoso, Director of the Public Health Department of Santa Barbara County, about her work with community health workers like the Promotores. Finally, Dr. Reynoso will be joined by the Promotores for a panel discussion, after which we will invite, and in fact, we welcome your questions. So please enjoy this short film entitled Promotores, Community Health Workers and Advocates.
So the Promatores Network began out of a need that we identified when we were doing outreach in the community. What happened was we were focused on specific health issues, but as we were having conversations and interacting with families, they wanted to talk about what was a need, an immediate need for them, and it wasn't necessarily anything having to do with their health or their physical health or a program or a mammogram, but it had to do with their family and why it was important for them to talk about their teenage son, their husband, housing. All of that was a priority. And so I think us trying to understand as promotores that we can't go in, it's not respectful to go in and say, I want to provide a service for you, this is what you need to talk about. And promotores recognized that we could not work with the community in that way. And so we decided to form a group and go in and address whatever needs were coming up for each family.
Absolutely, it's one of our keys for us as a promotores. You have to build a trust. Because if we don't have the trust of the community, it's not going to work. Different organizations and agencies have reached out to us because of that barrier. They don't trust, what they really are offering. And if they come to us and we say, hey, look, it's important that you need to go and, count yourself or go get a physical because your health is important. As we know, the minority of our working families, to sustain themselves, they have to work 2 to 3 jobs. In their head, it's not important. Oh, if I get sick, it's not important. I have to keep going because I have a family to feed.
Creo que las barreras que hay mucho es en el área de la salud mental. En salud mental, yo para mí he encontrado varias barreras. Primero, se encuentra en todas las áreas la barrera del idioma. ¿verdad? Que no hablamos el inglés, que no entendemos. Muchas personas no hablan en nuestra comunidad ni siquiera el español, hablan algún dialecto como mixteco o otro dialecto. Entonces es muy difícil, esa es una barrera. Lo más difícil es encontrar quién puede ayudar a esas personas, y los logros más grandes es que reciban ellos esos servicios, aún a pesar del idioma, de su estado migratorio, de su edad también, de su sexo, porque vemos que también a las mujeres se discrimina de cierta manera. Hay muchas barreras, sí las hay, pero es bonito luchar en contra de esas barreras y llegar a obtener esos logros.
Como les decía al principio, yo era una persona tímida que no sabía hablar en público, que no me daba miedo. Y cuando entrar a Promotoras, mi vida dio un giro de 90 grados. Yo me miro, inclusive no solamente yo, mi familia, mis hijas, mi esposo, dicen ellos que no soy la Betty que era antes, que soy una mujer ahora de tranquilidad cada persona, y el solo hecho de poder motivar a mis hijas, para mí eso es lo más grandioso, el poder escuchar que una gente que ayudé me diga, Betty, gracias, me ayudaste. Ese es el mejor pago que puede recibir una persona.
I think the other thing that we have been able to do recently is attract a lot of young promotores. And that also is a really amazing thing to see, because we have promotores that are 18 to 70 something, 90 something. And I think the group provides another opportunity for growth in both directions, for the young community to understand what's been done and to learn from that, but then also from some of our older promotores to see that the work that they have done has made a difference, right? And that it's not going to be over, it will continue, and that and just to see them interact is very amazing as well. It's very rewarding, satisfying to see that despite the age difference and potentially the cultural differences, they can still connect. They are still one.
Well, I think that film tells you a lot about these promotores. I just want to add the community. I've worked around the world, and community health workers, they come in many sizes and colors, and they're called by various names. Some working as volunteers, and some are employed by various agencies. But as you can see from this film, this Promotores network is special. These are strong, independent, and committed individuals who are finding their own voices and truly serving as bridges between their community and existing medical systems. This is potentially transformative for both the individuals and for our healthcare system. And then I'd also like to add that the value of a film like this one to a small group like the Promotores Network must be acknowledged. And I would like to extend a special thanks to Linda Burrows and her team for making these videos an integral part of our Grants in Action program. Now, thanks to the Women's Fund, the Promotores Network can easily share their work with a much larger audience. Thanks to those special donors who have made this possible. I'm ready to contribute to the special fund too. Now, let's turn our attention to the Health Navigator Training and Certification Program. In total, 35 promotores, 24 from South County, plus 11 from North County participated in the training. Because our grantee leveraged the power of their Women's Fund grant to procure additional funding from the Santa Barbara Foundation to include 11 promotores from North County in the Health Navigator training. And I'm very, very proud of them for having managed to accomplish that. So please welcome live and in person one of the amazing founders of the Promotores Network, Maribel Landeros, who will present on the USC Health Navigator Training and Certification Program.
Good evening. I'm Maribel Landeros, Mid-North County Promotores Coordinator. Thank you for joining us tonight to learn more about Promotores Network and hear from promotores themselves, now as health navigators. Health Navigation Certification Training Program. The COVID-19 pandemic has deepened pre-existing inequalities, exposing vulnerabilities within our systems, which in turn amplify the impacts of the pandemic. These are felt more acutely for those living in high poverty and communities of color. Communities of color were more impacted by COVID, simply because we were already dealing with layers upon layers of unmet needs or unaddressed issues. As I mentioned in the video, we cannot go into someone's home and tell them what they need and disregard their concerns or priorities. COVID changed the face of our community. Many members lost their lives, and they lost their ability to provide financially for their family, both here and in their home country. Lack of affordable housing is one major issue that impacted us both with COVID, but also impacts our health. The next slide is titled, We Are Who We Serve. In We Are Who We Serve, Promotores Network serves underserved communities who experience poverty, are monolingual Spanish, Mixteco, and are bilingual English-Spanish speakers, and native-born or immigrant communities. Training and outreach activities are focused to support the lowest income families who are likely to be undocumented and living in overcrowded housing with income levels far below the poverty guideline. Promotores have been helping the community navigate a wide variety of systems, health, education, and immigration, just to name a few. As a group, we have over 250 years of experience in providing resources, connecting families with services, and influencing systems as well. When you are able to see a person's needs in their entirety, you are validating the person and you understand how things are interconnected. It isn't just one issue, but many issues, all wrapped up in sleeplessness, poor diet, anxiousness, toxic stress, depression. When we see it all as interconnected, we will be able to begin to make changes. We need to be seen, heard, and validated. You're now going to hear from Maria Otero and Martina Martinez and why they were interested in becoming health navigators.
Poder tener más herramientas, más educación, más conocimiento y poderlo compartir con la comunidad, especialmente con la comunidad latina, que es siempre mi prioridad.
Facilitar el acceso para médicos, farmacias en la comunidad y servicios sociales de salud que les permitan a las personas entender cómo seguir su tratamiento por sí mismos.
Health navigation has introduced new skills, concepts, and the ability to assist in offering hope, empowerment, and support by utilizing the individual's own goals and being there to guide them and recognize their successes. The next video we want to share with you will show you a little bit of some of that work that was done in the training. Martina Martinez and Mayra Perez were practicing their skills by role-playing.
Buenas tardes, bienvenida a nuestra entrevista. ¿En qué le puedo ayudar?
Pues me dijeron que aquí, pero aquí me van a dar los lentes, porque yo necesito unos lentes porque no veo nada.
Yo voy a tratar de hacer lo posible por referirla.
¿Cuánto me va a durar esa contactar?
Mire, no se me desespere. Vamos a tratar ahorita mismo de llamar a la clínica para que la atiendan hoy mismo y usted reciba sus lentes.
Gracias, gracias.
Me encanta. Es un placer poder atenderla y hacer lo más posible por solucionar su problema.
Due to COVID, we were unable to have this training in person, but we were still able to make it work. The group who participated was very excited about utilizing their abilities to connect with the community and put into practice their new skills. Now you will see bits and pieces of a conversation between Eva Medina, promotora and health navigator, and Herminia, a client who is receiving health navigation services.
Hola Herminia, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Qué gusto me da de ver que estés de nuevo aquí conmigo y yo quisiera darle seguimiento a la última plática que tuvimos tú y yo. ¿Cómo estás?
Todo bien, gracias. Pero a dos números que me dio y pues así llamé, pero no me dieron contestación para atrás.
Contamos con varios recursos de diferentes organizaciones. Así es que si no te funcionó esta, vamos a hacer otro plan, el plan B. Entonces vamos a hablar.
One tool that was new for many was motivational interviewing, which is difficult to master, but promotores have accepted the challenge. Motivational interviewing is a key to empowerment. It is a path to allowing the client to come to their own realization of a need for change and to create their own goals based on their own priorities. By demonstrating how to navigate a system, it takes the fear out of it. It shows the individual what the steps might look like for them, and the navigator is able to first demonstrate, then shadow the individual, and then stand back and be available for support if needed. The uniqueness of promotores becoming health navigators is that by reflecting the community we serve, those needing support will be able to identify with the health navigator and feel understood in many ways. You will now hear the What's in It for Me from promotores throughout the county.
Me llevo bastante, tanto personal como profesional, usarlo con mi propia familia, en saber cómo navegar el sistema y cómo poder encontrar recursos diferentes para ellos.
Sí, ahora me siento más segura de hablar con las personas de la comunidad porque son muchas herramientas para trabajar con ellos, información, recursos. Me siento muy contenta de eso.
Me siento más segura de poder ayudar y con más conocimiento, y también pues aprendí muchas más herramientas que me van a ayudar en la comunidad.
Sustainability of the Promotores program. Certified Health Navigator Promotores will be self-sustainable, eventually allowing the program to be reimbursed through Medi-Cal and private insurance and continue to provide support for the families in Santa Barbara. They will be able to develop new skill set, which may prompt agencies and organizations in Santa Barbara County to offer meaningful employment. We believe community members will feel more supported as well as confident in obtaining services in the health system, as well as feel empowered to navigate and maneuver through other systems after having worked with a health navigator. For promotores, we hope doors will open up both personally and professionally. Now you will hear from Herminia, share what this support from Eva has meant for her.
A usted, que hemos platicado, me ha ayudado a ser un poquito fuerte, de hacer unos cambios en mi vida.
Me da muchísimo gusto.
Gracias por esto que me ha dado en estos meses que nos hemos mirado.
Edminia shared briefly. She seems quiet and timid and says health navigation has helped her to be a bit stronger and make some changes in her life after just a few meetings with Eva. Strong is strong, and I am excited to see her use these words to describe herself. Empowerment, hope, and success will come her way in part to the trust she has with Eva, and of course, because Herminia has set her own goals after realizing for herself the need for change. One last very important thing to say.
Yo estoy muy agradecida con Women's Fund por habernos dado esta oportunidad.
Muchas gracias a Women's Fund de Santa Bárbara.
Le agradezco mucho a la Women's Fund de Santa Bárbara que nos dio esta oportunidad.
Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias. Mi agradecimiento va a ser eterno.
Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias al Women's Fund por habernos proporcionado la ayuda para poder tomar esta capacitación de navegador de salud.
Muchas gracias, Women's Fund of Santa Barbara, for your support and for believing us and for gifting us these new tools. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maribel. And I have to always, every time I see that, it's not the first time, but every time I have to wipe my eyes a little bit because it's all so heartfelt. A special thanks also to Ia Yanares, who created the PowerPoint with those very powerful embedded testimonials. It is now my honor and real pleasure to introduce Dr. Vaughn DeRonoso, Director of Santa Barbara County Public Health. Her face is one we have come to know and love through her informative and reassuring pandemic updates. On behalf of the Women's Fund community, we extend our gratitude to you and your team for the amazing public health work during the past few years. Dr. DeRonoso attended UC Santa Cruz and UC Berkeley for undergraduate and master's training in public policy and health. And she completed her public health PhD at UC Merced. She's the mother of 3 daughters, the youngest still at home and currently a senior at Dos Pueblos High. Before arriving in Santa Barbara in 2017, she headed the Madera County Public Health Department, where she collaborated with community health workers and realized their potential for transforming community health. Welcome, Dr. DeRonoso, and thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today. So my first question to you is a broad one, but could you please share with us, so we get to know you a little bit better, your vision for building community public health in Santa Barbara County, and what resources are needed to achieve this vision?
Great question. Thank you, Mickey, for the wonderful introduction and for inviting me into this space to share my thoughts. Additionally, I'm so appreciative of the Women's Fund community for supporting the Promatores Network. Kudos to your vision and investment in our community. My vision is to engage our community to join public health in our mission to improve the health of our communities. And we do that by preventing disease, by promoting wellness, by advancing health equity, and by ensuring access to healthcare and maintaining a safe and healthy environment. And the resources that we need, well, this means that we need to maintain existing partnership and intentionally building new ones. It also means that we need to work towards a collective commitment across sectors, across organizations, and across communities to implement effective strategies such as Promatores.
Great. And so what specifically is the importance of the Promotores to public health in Santa Barbara?
I think community health workers or promotores are the frontline health and public health workers, and they are also trusted members of or have a close understanding of the communities that they serve. They have a critical role in ensuring that communities have access to culturally or linguistically appropriate services, and that is so important in achieving the outcomes that we want. Community health workers, interventions, we've seen that they've been proven to address the unmet social needs of the patient populations, and it's been proven that they improve the health outcomes and the patient quality of care. We've always known this, but I really saw the importance of engaging trusted community members as messengers throughout the pandemic. Public health will continue to create the mechanisms and paths to engage promotores in our health centers and community health efforts. And my dream is to engage my fellow healthcare providers to do the same.
I love I love your vision. So, so in the public health realm, we hear a lot of talk about the importance of this quote, health equity, especially which often is just referred to as equal access for all. And is there a role for the promotores?
I see promotores as trusted community members who are in a unique position to make sure that their communities have access to services. But moreover, they have the opportunity to affect policy and systems change. And they can inform us of what's really happening out there, what's working well, and what's really needed and what needs to change. So absolutely, promotores have an incredibly important role in health equity.
Great. So now I would like to welcome Promotores Mirabel Landeros and Josefa Rios two of the founders, to join Dr. Doronoso for a brief discussion about expanding access to healthcare and the anticipated impact the Promotores Health Navigators will have on the health of our Santa Barbara community. So my first question, I'm going to thank so much Josefa and Maribel for being here and joining us. My apologies if everyone heard a telephone. I don't know where it was or who it was, but this is the joy of doing a live broadcast. So
I thought that was the reminder for me to speed up.
Oh, I have no idea. We'll find out later. Anyhow, so in Santa Barbara, we know that COVID has disproportionately impacted the Spanish-speaking community, both in terms of health and livelihood. So for Senora Landeros and Senora Rios, what do either of you or both of you see as the most significant barriers to accessing needed healthcare services and information?
I think the lack of connection to the clinics. I think you said promotores are frontline personnel, and I think that in the clinics, in any system, the frontline personnel really is the major impact, right? So if our community walks into the clinic and they're not, as I said, heard or understood, there will be no connection. They will give up, right? So I think that the frontline workers from the clinics working side by side with promotores and being able to have that connection, even if we speak the same language. So I think having that connection, being able to help the client understand or the patient understand, because sometimes we don't know what to ask for. We don't know the terminologies. And so we go in, and if we're met with tired, overworked staff, there's no coming back from that. So I think having the promotores provide that and having the knowledge of how to navigate the system.
And that, if I may say, it's the beginning of this pandemic, the promotores jump into right away. Because themselves, they were also being affected. We all were in a different way. We're all, impacted, and they know how to navigate the system. They know who are the resources, how connected. But yes, it's very important to also have that, direct connection with the agencies, with the clinics, with everybody, what they would, we serve in the community. So it's a big, it's team effort. It's a big, we got to do it as a team.
So that leads me then, Dr. Doronoso, to my second question to the panel, which is directed specifically to you. In Santa Barbara, can you envision the establishment of a formal partnership between the promotores or some other cadre of community health worker?
Yes, on two levels. So as the director of our public health department, we do have 5 healthcare centers and 3 additional satellites in homeless shelters. I do see a huge and again very critical role for promotores in our healthcare centers, as well as different types of community health workers in our community health. So these might be community health workers who work with youth, or the LGBTQ community, or the Filipino community. So we live in a very diverse county, and we will be investing in a wide cadre of community health workers or promotores. So that's on the department level, but on a bigger level, I have wonderful news to share if you've not heard of it already. So we just received great news from the California Healthcare Foundation. And this is, I want to give a huge applause to the Santa Barbara Foundation for spearheading a collective regional grant application. So we did receive the grant, and the grant will fund a regional planning effort in SLO, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. And the three counties and our partners in the community will be working to create a structure to support the establishment of a sustainable Promatores program. So we have very lofty goals. Our goals are to bridge existing efforts, like exactly learning from the Promatores network. So we will be bridging existing efforts on Promatores workforce development and capacity building centered on the voices of Promatores. They're going to be guiding our process. And we're also going to be grabbing from best practices in child and maternal health and family services, grabbing expertise in that area, and all will culminate in a clear, coordinated career pathway for promoters in the Tri-County area. So I'm super excited about this announcement.
Wow, that's just fantastic news. And I mean, having worked around the world with various public health directors, Santa Barbara is very, very fortunate to have someone with your vision and your commitment to the community. And then we're equally as lucky to have already in existence this amazing, network of Promatores women who emerged themselves. I mean, no one told them to get together. They got together themselves, and they've made this incredible impact. So the two coming together, the top coming down and the bottom coming up, it's real potential for our Santa Barbara community health. My third question to the panel then is, the community may not realize, I mean, the Women's Fund community, that the Promotores currently operate primarily as volunteers and do not receive compensation for their community health work. So how might these community health workers be compensated for their valuable healthcare work? And let's start with Dr. Donoso, and then I'd love to hear from our promotores about their thoughts on this matter. So,
I want to say that if they've intersected with the public health department, I have been a steadfast believer and practitioner that that promoters need to be compensated. They add value because their involvement results in better outcomes. And I do firmly believe that a key way to honor their time and expertise and effort is to compensate them. And we have developed programs to compensate. And my overarching goal is to create a formal path for promotores to be hired as permanent employees in my department. So that's acknowledging their lived experience as a qualification, as a core competency to do the work. And I think this is the only, in my world, this is the only key way to ensure that promotores will receive a living wage and benefits.
Great. Maribel and Josefa, any comments that you have about some of what Dr. Donoso has been talking about?
Absolutely. It's we keep repeating ourselves, and we hear this, it's a commitment, right? It's a huge commitment that the promotores already have and impacting our community. And it's, for me as a promotoras, when we started 20 years ago, it's to recognize the work, validate the work and the effort of these women and men that were making a huge impact in changing for a better community, a healthy community. For me, it's a privilege. It's a hard work, even though we do a lot of ourselves, a lot of voluntary, time and a lot of services, but just to hear that and recognize the work, it's a huge accomplishment, and offering out new opportunities with the health navigator training too. That's going to be in a different level. It's going to bring the promotores to a different level too.
It's long overdue.
Thank you. I will add that when I say promotores, I'm not talking about myself or Josefa. And the promotores have made a huge impact, as you said, through the pandemic, with assisting and providing the information in our own language, and dissecting what does it mean, what is COVID, how do you clean, how do you do, to providing food and working with the food bank, to most recently we have done with public health, the partnership, been able to host mobile vaccine clinics, and they have been successful. They have been hugely successful. And part of that work is because we know who our community is and what they need. And we now have the support, Josefa and I, and Angelica in Carpinteria, because of funding, to be able to provide some financial support for lead promotoras. There is no way Josefa and I could do this work alone. Same thing for the county. There is no way the county can do this alone. We have to work together, and we have to acknowledge each other's strengths and experience, and come up and make it work for everybody, for everyone. So I do appreciate all the work and the extraordinary partnership that public health has been able to do. I know not all counties were able to work like this, and so I am very, very thankful for that.
So thank you so very much. Now, I think this has been a wonderful discussion. And now, since we are live and our Women's Fund members, I know, are very interested in this subject, I'd like to open it up for questions. So please go ahead and type your questions into the Q&A function on your Zoom screen. And then we're going to have literally what we're calling sort of the voice of God is going to come from above, and it's going to ask us these questions. So it's a very sophisticated technology we have here. So I'm going to be waiting for Mary. You know, it's so fascinating. This whole notion of being compensated for services is there need to be mechanisms in place for doing that also. And we've been having this conversation. I've had it with Vaughn, and I've had it with both of the promotores about the fact that there are currently no legislative systems that, for example, allow the promotores to bill for their services. But I believe, Vaughn, you were saying that some of that is in the works. Is that correct? There's some.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have several state initiatives that hopefully will make this a reality for healthcare providers through CalAIM and changes in the Medi-Cal reimbursement policies that we can bill for promotores, or they're calling it community health workers time. So I'm hopeful, but man, it is lower than molasses. So we're going to move ahead and do our own thing here locally. I think for me, the struggle is not necessarily reimbursement, but it's changing civil service rules, and it's changing how healthcare providers see promotores. And I think we need to quantify that lived experience is just as valuable as something you learn in school, and that these are, and in this case, incredibly more valuable and more apropos.
Right. It's so true. Based on all the work that I've done with community health workers, I know they can transform their own lives, they can transform the lives of the people they serve, and they can help to change the existing healthcare systems too, which is very exciting. So the potential is all there. And in Santa Barbara, we're just so lucky that you're so open to taking steps toward that. So really positive. Mary, do we have some questions, or were there no questions from the audience? Mary, you may need to put your speaker back on since I told you to turn it off.
That's okay, Mickey. But no, we haven't had any questions from the audience yet.
Oh, wow. Oh, there's one. Looks like one just walked in.
Yes. Someone is curious about the background of Josefa and Maribel.
Go ahead, ladies.
Go ahead. I have worked as a preschool teacher. I have worked, I worked at Transition House as a case manager for homeless families. I have worked at neighborhood clinics in Santa Barbara. I have done it all. And the one thing that ties it all together is every single job that I've ever had has been serving people. And caring for others. And I think the essence of Promotores is to volunteer, is to help, is to serve. And now with the added training, like Josefa said, we'll take it a step further, but it won't change our essence. We are who we are, and we'll always be caring for our community. So that's me.
And for me, I think a lot of had to do with my mother, always helping someone from my hometown. She always was, you know, there was always somebody knocking at our home, our door, you know, asking for food, for medicine in my hometown. But also my background, I am a certified medical assistant. And I also had a business as a cosmetologist. I used to, you know, cut hair and everybody. And I still remember, you know, clients, or they used to come, you know, depressed, fix me, make me feel good about it. So it was just listening and trying to make someone feel special as a human being. But yes, like Maribel says, it's always going to be, you know, helping our community to give them the light of hope. There's something that we could do, and that's how the promotores, you know, work. We used to call it, we still do, you know, we do service from the heart, servicio del corazón, because we do it from the heart, because we recognize the need.
Great. So since there don't seem to be any more questions coming in, I guess we've answered all their questions already. So to all our panelists, I extend a heartfelt thank you for your incredible work and commitment to making Santa Barbara a healthy community. As public health professionals, we hope this discussion has awakened your interest in public health and the important role that all of us as community members can play. As a Women's Fund member, seeing our grants in action makes me proud to be part of this incredible group of philanthropic women. A very special thanks to our volunteer Women's Fund team, Linda Burrows, Kathy Hollis, Mary Luti, and Lauren Trujillo for your amazing support of this program. Finally, thanks to each and every one of you Women's Fund members for your ongoing support for our community. We hope you found this program informative and inspiring. A recording will be available to all interested on the Women's Fund website, so please let your friends know about it. And please stay tuned now for the closing slides, the first which shows contact information for the Promotores Network, followed by acknowledgement of our generous sponsors. I wish you all a very good evening.
Thank you.